So for me, at Adjust, we define neurodiversity as the concept that we recognise, value, and celebrate that we all think differently. And I think from those questions we just did, all of them are up there. So those of you that said all of the above, I'd say that was the right answer. And I think neurodiversity is an umbrella term for a set of differing skills profiles. And at Adjust, we focus on these four conditions because that's the experience that we've got. But it could be considered wider than that. And as I said, I first heard about the term when I was speaking to someone talking about my epilepsy. But we focus on these because this is our experience. And I really believe if you can start to be inclusive for these conditions, you can be inclusive for all. And Adjust, to be clear and practical, we just use the term autism when discussing the autism spectrum. So for a condition that's not very well understood, it's got about 20 different labels. So there's autism, Asperger's syndrome, autism spectrum disorder, Kanner's autism, high functioning autism. People say on the spectrum. I find it really ironic that for a condition that's not very well understood, it's got plenty of names. And I got so worried about this once. I said to an autistic person, "What do you want to be called?" And he said, "Lee." Because I'd got so worried, especially in the start of my career, about getting terminology right. I sort of lost focus away from the individual, and that made so much sense to me, and it really brings it into focus. So for me, this is how we define neurodiversity at Adjust, that we recognise, value and celebrate that we all think differently. I really think it's the celebration of the individual, but within the workplace, you'll find it's taken on an umbrella term for conditions such as those four. ADHD stands for the clunkily titled Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder, for those of you that don't know. I love this quote from an autistic person. It says, "To me, neurodiversity is the idea that neurological differences like autism and ADHD are the result of the normal natural variation in the human genome." So what I love about that is that if we start thinking that the human race was made to think differently from each other for a reason, if we all felt the same or all thought in the same way, we'd probably all still be living in caves and wouldn't have achieved much. And I often use examples that perhaps you might think people with ADHD are people that can't concentrate, but perhaps people with ADHD are individuals that are hyper aware of their surroundings. And in prehistoric times, that would have been useful for people if you wanted to catch animals that are coming to eat you. And I think it's society today that disables people. And again, things like dyslexia. I would say dyslexia has always existed, but then we invented reading and writing, and that was how we measure a lot of people's intelligence, especially throughout school. But if you come on this journey about neurodiversity, these conditions have always existed, and we're not looking for a cure. Like when I was working on that project of curing that little boy, you know, that was only 20 years ago. I can't believe I'm saying it was 20 years ago, but it was only 20 years ago that my college was happy to put up adverts for curing autistic people. So I think we've come so far, and I think now we've come to the point where we're looking to embrace it, recognise it, and celebrate it and value it.